just cut out.
Hello, YouTube.
Good.
Hi, YouTube.
We're on YouTube.
We're on YouTube.
What's up, YouTube?
This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. It sucks.
Welcome back to This List Sucks. It's Friday night.
Friday night.
I'm
Ow.
JB.
I'm Mike.
And this is Justin.
Say hi, Justin.
Hello, Justin.
Thanks for being here with us, Justin. Justin's a very special guest tonight. Straight from Philly. No, he lives here in Des Moines, but originally.
Via
Yeah.
Des Moines, via Philly.
That's right. Yeah.
And should we also say that Justin doubles as our part-time production assistant?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think we've given him credit for that on a previous
I think
show.
multiple episodes. Yeah. He's our production manager. I would go as far as to say.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
He holds us down the line pretty good.
Just don't tell us to do anything because we won't fucking do it.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, he
yeah.
tries. Yeah.
We're typical talent.
Kick us in the ass, but we're exactly. We just want to go to the trailer.
Right?
Just moral support.
Yeah.
I also
we
want my
appreciate that.
fucking bowl of M&Ms with no green ones. Did that happen?
Yeah.
No, I
Did you
just drank the basil.
You
Higgins.
motherfucker.
You didn't read the writer, did you? Well, we're very excited to have Justin on the podcast tonight.
We are.
It's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
He was there when the idea was hatched. I remember.
That's true.
Yeah.
He
He
turned
was.
me down.
Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so
I
regretting that. No,
I
it's
pitched
true.
this whole idea. I pitched this whole idea to two people.
Me and him.
You two motherfuckers.
Yeah.
So I
And
think
Ja-
that all of the listeners are lucky because you don't want me on every show. You don't, right? I mean, it's you guys are great as it is. I think I think I made the right choice. I'll be on here and there, but you don't need me every episode.
Well, we'll take you just as much as we can get you.
I know.
So
Because this is going to be a match made in heaven. And tonight
yes.
is extra special because not the whole reason, we've pitched Justin to come on the show before. But Justin happens to have this crazy affliction with the Grateful Dead. And so this week we're going to be digging into Working Man's Dead. And we thought,
Perfect time.
what better way?
Yeah.
What better time?
I'm
Perfect.
excited.
Yeah. That's just one of the many good albums we have to dig into tonight. Tonight's going to be a good night
I'm excited to talk about it.
to talk about it. He says. That's
The
not
elephant
foreboding at all.
The elephant in the room is number 406. That's the elephant in the room. And to be clear with everybody, we haven't talked about this. Like a lot of the times we'll sit down in front of the show and we'll just kind of bullshit with each other about, oh yeah, this was fun and this was cool, or this surprised me or this didn't. We kind of didn't do that this week only because, Justin was going to be on the podcast and we're all around each other a lot anyway. And so we were just kind of doing the regular kind of bullshit catch up thing.
Yeah. And sometimes it's better if we let it come out naturally in the podcast anyways. Right?
Yeah,
I
I
mean-
think it's good that I really don't have any kind of glimmers on what your thoughts are going to be on these albums. So
Neither for you guys. I'm excited about that one in particular because
I am too.
I think that I do know I'll probably agree with JV more than I will Mike, but
just in general,
Just in
yeah,
general,
Just as a general rule of thumb, that's kind of where you live.
as
All right.
Justin is apt to do. Yeah.
Good to fucking know.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Sorry,
my
Mike.
opinion means nothing.
Don't take it personally, dude.
But if he asks you anything, it's clear that he's going to confirm with me.
Yeah, because he doesn't trust me for shit.
No.
No,
Yeah.
I don't trust JB to follow through with things or what I mean? But I'm
Okay.
his opinion.
Thanks for that.
It is Friday though, so there was new music out today. Did you do
I
any
did this
music
week.
today?
Normally I don't. Usually Mike's my new music guy.
I know.
And I'm like, tell me what you listen to.
I
But
know. So what
I
did you
listened to
do?
something, and it's kind of an odd, out of left field. I bet most people didn't listen to it, but Pat Matheny released a new album today. Did you know that?
No.
I'm gonna pull it up here.
Yeah, who's Pat Matheny?
Who's Pat Matheny? Oh wow, I'm surprised to hear you say that.
Am I the only one? Like, am I?
Well,
am I
he's a
stupid?
jazz guy. He's a jazz guy.
Oh.
But he happens to be one of like the biggest guitar influences on Trey Anastasio. So that's why I wasn't sure if.
And he's a jazz guitar player?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah. And I have his new. So he just released a new album today, and it is called I was just listening to it. Road to the Sun. And it's really 2 songs. The first 4 songs are 4 Paths of Light, parts 1 through 4. And then the next 5 songs or 6 songs are Road to the Sun, parts 1 through 6.
That is interesting. He looks like a fucking Muppet, right?
Kind of, yeah. He's an old school jazz guy. He probably started in, I want to say, the 70s or something like that.
Wow.
But yeah, he's a very, very melodic jazz guitar player. And he's just jazz fusion-y, I would say.
Okay.
But this album was really cool. The first 4 songs are him and a guy named Jason Vieaux. I don't know if I'm butchering that last name. It's Vieaux.
Considering what I did with the album Hotels.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that you're way closer to
That's true. Thank you for making me feel better there. But so the first 4, the 4 Paths of Light parts 1 through 4 are him and that guy, which that guy's a piano player. So it's just him and guitar and piano. That's all it is. But it's like super fusion-y. It gets more melodic as the parts go on. Like the first one is almost just like avant-garde, dissonant stuff. It's like there's almost no discernible melody to my ear, at least. But
some Odell Coleman type stuff.
I'm not familiar. You mean Ornette Coleman?
Ornette Coleman, yeah.
No, much less melodic. It's just more like, yeah, I don't know. But then as the parts go, it gets a little more. There's an actual discernible melody. But then Road to the Sun, which is the next 6 songs on the record, parts 1 through 6, is him and the Los Angeles Guitar Quartet, which is that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So, and
I listen to often.
No. I listen to almost the whole thing, and it's really good. If you're into like avant-garde jazz fusion stuff that's like really guitar heavy, just real virtuosic players, then check it out for sure. And dig into Pat Metheny's catalog. He's a fantastic jazz guitar player. One of the greats, undoubtedly.
Yeah. Tomorrow morning.
Cool.
This will be some easy listening for me tomorrow morning. I hate to say this, but yeah, I didn't do this. I wasted like 10 minutes of my life with Kings of Leon.
Okay, so I saw that and I was like, I'll check that out. But then I saw Pat Metheny. Was it bad? The new Kings of Leon?
Listen, I don't even like Kings of Leon. It was one of those things that I was like, maybe this is going to be music that I really, really enjoy, and
just wasn't.
Yeah, it's just not my. I can't really dig the tenor of that dude's voice.
I didn't like them once they got kind of popular. That's kind of a hipster thing to say, but I liked a couple of their songs, like before they started getting really big, like before that "Sex Is on Fire" album came out, that had them on the radio 24/7. They had a song called "Taper Jean Girl." That was kind of cool. That's a fun one. That's one of the early stuff. It's pretty raw, like garage punk rocks kind of stuff.
Really?
But it's still kind of poppy, but garage rock at its core.
Yeah. And then I saw that there was like 39 new hip hop mixtapes that were
Normal Friday, right?
That's what it fucking feels like. I didn't do any of that. I actually I dug deep into hip hop today. I hate to. I don't even hate to say this.
Yeah.
Fuck that, dude. I listened to almost all of Life After Death again by Notorious B.I.G.
Wow.
And then I went and I fucking dug into Ready to Die, because I hadn't listened to Ready to Die in a long time. So I was like,
do you think both of those are on the list?
Fuck yes. Yeah.
Probably should be.
And I'm getting to the point where I really don't hate the fact that they're both going to be on the list. And I'm almost at the point now where I don't even hate the fact that Life After Death is going to be higher than All Eyes on Me.
That's iffy for me. I mean, I love Biggie. Don't get me wrong. He was actually my first love. But once I started getting in between the two, and like the West Coast, East Coast feud thing, when I started digging into Tupac, I was like, okay, it's a clear for me.
I know.
I'm a Tupac guy.
And I still feel that way, but I like, and I started this the last time I was coming back from Texas. Like that's when, and I think I told you this, like I put on Life After Death and I put it on with I literally said to myself, okay, erase all your preconceived notions. Just listen to this album and just see what you think about this album. And I remember getting to the end of it and just thinking, fuck, dude, I can't believe I slept on this, and I did the exact same thing again today. It's fucking really, really good.
Oh, so you hadn't really exposed yourself to Biggie?
No. I just spent way more time with Ready to Die than what I'd ever spent with Life After Death.
Gotcha.
Because I don't
Ready to
know.
Die has all the big hits on it, right?
It's got Big Papa and it's got Juicy on it.
Hypnotize.
No, that's on Life After
Is that
Death.
on Life After Death? Okay.
And so is Mo Money, More Problems. It's
Damn.
on Life After
Okay.
Death too.
Then yeah.
It's really good, man. I know. It's really, really good.
How about you, Justin? You listen to anything new today?
I did actually, which I thought was going to be a little bit more hip hoppy, and it turned out not to be. Our friend Lee Stamper threw out an album by Dr. Dog. I'd really never listened to any Dr. Dog, and I didn't dive too deep into it.
Where are you from again?
Philadelphia.
And for those who
Fucking turncoat piece of shit, dude.
before we get further, just because we contractually have to mention it, that is Lee Stamper of onlylee.com.
Yes, of only Lee.
Here's his usual ad spot.
I can't even believe that we did.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt, guys.
Yeah.
Only.com.
Dr. Dog is a Philly band. That's why I was giving you such a hard time.
Right. No, and that's fair because like I've heard of it. I knew it. I'm very, I guess not selective because I listen to what I like and I know and like
uppity
so,
motherfucker.
So really what you're telling us,
just
Justin, is that you kind of like Philly, but you don't really like any of the products from Philly.
I listen to the Roots.
Do you drive to New York City to get a cheesesteak?
Oh,
Fuck no.
Those are fighting words, Mike. Fighting words.
I just want to get snowballs pelted at me.
Don't leave
What can I
across my
say?
table at him, Justin.
I want him to put on like a Santa.
Clear Wooder.
Right? If you know.
I know. I see.
No, but so that it's not hip hop.
That's right. It's not hip hop.
No, it's like alt rock, isn't it? Dr. Dog?
Yeah, it's like indie. Yeah, it's like indie alt rock. It's really good though.
No, yeah, I actually enjoyed it. It was not what I expected. You know, I thought, maybe more towards like the Roots or something like that is what I was going to get. But I didn't. So I will probably
dig
a little bit deeper into that. So.
I've never listened to them at all. They came to 8035 here in Des Moines, music festival here in Des Moines a couple of years ago, I believe. Did you see that? Were you there?
I didn't see Dr. Dog here. I did see Dr. Dog in Bonnaroo.
Nice.
So I'm at Bonnaroo. And they've probably been there at a couple of different years that I've been to Bonnaroo, but one of them in particular is I think Lee Stamper was the one that turned me on to them back in the day too, because he was always much better about prepping for all the bands and trying to find the diamonds in the rough.
Doesn't surprise me.
And so yeah, and then Lee's cousin. So Lee is my wife's cousin. So Lee and Genevieve's other cousin.
Oh, I thought it was like, you mean your wife?
No. But there's another cousin that they both have that lives down in New Orleans. And she was really, really into Dr. Dog too.
Okay.
And so then, and she's cool. Like she's into good music. And so all of this kind of coalesced into an environment where I was like, I got to spend some time with them.
Yeah, I've heard some people that are like pretty diehard Dr. Doggers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that what they call them?
They're in the Dr. Dog pound. I don't know. I'm making shit up as I go here.
D-O-double-G.
And I'm all out of euphemisms here. So let's move on.
Yeah, dude. Let's dive. You want
Should we get in? Let's get into it. Okay.
Absolutely. All right.
So for those unaware, just
unaware,
if you're jumping right in right here,
the uninitiated.
that's right. For the This List Sucks newbies, we are currently going through Rolling Stone's list of the 500 greatest albums of all time. It's the big list we decided to go through. This podcast is just about lists in general and how they all fucking suck.
Yep.
No matter who makes them.
And it'll be fun to talk about this week. So we have worked our way through the first 90 selections out of 500. And so this week we're going to start with number 410, which is the 1967 release from the Beach Boys entitled Wild Honey. Rolling Stone says, after Pet Sounds and the aborted Smiley Smile, I really wish that I could hear Smiley Smile now, knowing that it was aborted.
Wow.
What was left for the Beach Boys to do? Invent the idea of do-it-yourself pop? Ditching the opulent and intricate arrangements. I'm so sorry. I read that sentence as a question. Invent the idea of do-it-yourself pop. Ditching the opulent and intricate arrangements of those two albums, Wild Honey returned them to their days as a spunky, self-contained band. In 24 concise but utterly winning minutes, they romped through a set of lo-fi, sun-baked melodies and R&B and soul homages, all suffused with warmth, sly hooks, and a sense of band unity, even as a frazzled Brian Wilson starting to pull back. Oh, poor Brian Wilson. basically Rolling Stone said they made this album even though Brian Wilson was a fucking hot mess at this point in his life.
Well, yeah, and he was getting some like second thoughts about the band, I think. When was Pet Sounds then? When did that come out? Does anybody know off the top of their head?
Prior to 1967.
It did? Because like
if I'm gonna believe Rolling
what they're
Stone.
saying, yeah. I mean, unless there was like a turnaround situation. What I was wondering. I'm looking it up. Pet Sounds
Probably 65, maybe.
was from 66. Wow. Okay.
66, okay.
That's weird to me that this one came out after Pet Sounds for some reason.
Well, even Rolling Stone is speaking to everything that I like when they talk about a set of lo-fi sun-baked melodies.
Yeah, that's Mike's favorite is the lo-fi.
I love lo-fi.
Yeah. It's not a secret.
Because again, let me reread this using layman's terms. They they romp through a set of shitty sounding sun-baked melodies. Or maybe they romp through a set of intentionally shitty sounding sun-baked melodies.
Despite their overwhelming resources.
Because they've already sold Pet Sounds.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll digress. What did you think about it? Give me your take.
You know what? I certainly don't like it as much as Pet Sounds, but I like it better than some of their earlier stuff. I do like it more than the first Beach Boys album that we listened to, I gotta say. Just because that first Beach Boys album is just not really my thing at all. Like that early kind of style that they did in like the early 60s. I mean, there's something to be said for it, and there are people that liked it for sure, but it wasn't my thing. They get a little more experimental, a little more psychedelic. I don't feel like all of the experiments necessarily work out on this album at all. And you can tell they're kind of reaching around and like, you know, listening to, you know, various influences and trying to kind of weave those sounds into what they're doing. And they're searching here. I feel like they're searching on this album, and some of it works out, some of it doesn't.
What do you think?
So, well, it sounds to me like you guys know that Pet Sounds is on this list already.
Well, I would assume.
Okay.
Pet Sounds is on.
It's got to
commonly
be on this
considered
list.
So
It's
there
probably
are-
in the top 20 is what my guess would be.
at least 50. Yeah.
So there are 3 of the Beach Boys albums.
Okay, so it's
You
Pet
know
Sounds then,
one,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we already had
I
one.
mean, right. So
Yeah, we did already have one.
I mean, not to blow the load, but yeah.
No, that's all right.
So I mean, all of that considered, for me, like I was just going through it, like, where's the surf rock? Like, give that to me. Like,
Okay, so you're
So
on
you
my
like
team.
that
then.
earlier stuff.
You
then.
completely disagree with JB and agree with Mike.
No, don't say that. Don't.
I mean,
He's trapping you.
I disagree with Mike,
It's
but
a trap.
I do disagree with Mike, but I'm also like sympathetic to what he's saying.
Yeah.
No, in all honesty,
Stockholm syndrome.
I my notes were, I'll have the classic, the cat ate my homework. My notes actually got kind of whatever. So
Yeah, Justin lost his notes in
I
an
did
unfortunate
lose my
computer
notes.
reset incident. He's not making it up. It really did
it
happen.
really did happen,
Yeah.
actually. But so like from, you know, I rewrote some quick ones, and you know what I have here is there's 3 albums on this list, right? I went and like kind of tried to figure out why this one was on there with some of the other ones, you know,
Amen.
the old one and the other one being higher. And, you know, my ultimate conclusion was like, just put Endless Summer on here and kick me off the podcast if you want to, a greatest hits.
Fuck that. That's exactly what I said on the last one.
I think it is. Now
Is
that
the
I-
summer-
That's exactly what I said. It's
Now
Endless
that I-
Summer.
The
No.
Summer is a Beach Boys album?
Yeah,
I don't
Endless,
even know.
Endless Summer was the
Oh,
greatest
Endless, okay.
hits. It was the greatest hits album that the Beach Boys put out, and it only covered their material through, I want to say 1966 is all Endless Summer covered. And that, to me, listen, I'm right there with you, because I'll take Endless Summer and then I get everything that I really want out of the Beach Boys. So give me Endless Summer and then give me Pet Sounds. And I'm going to say this right now. I'll listen to it again, and I've listened to it plenty of times before.
Pet Sounds or Endless Summer?
Both. I've probably spent more time with Endless Summer than what I have with Pet Sounds, because I really like that, like, kind of shitty poppy.
Really?
I like Surfing USA.
I don't hate it, but like,
Oh yeah.
I do.
is that what is Surfing in the USA on that one? Surfing
Fuck.
USA?
Yeah, dude.
I mean,
there's a
again,
lot of stuff.
Like I said before, I don't hate it. It's just not like what I'm going to go to at all. And it's not for something like, a lot of music is maybe not my favorite style, but there might be days where I wake up and I'm like, I'm really in the mood for that today. I don't have those days with that early Beach Boys stuff personally.
And that's fair, right? So like I think that's the thing for me is that like that if I was going to hear a Beach Boys song, it was going to be, you know, this upbeat, like sort of, you know, you're on the beach, like having fun and partying.
Well, you just want the
thing.
Beach Boys to like be who they actually are, is what you're saying.
Yes,
right?
but I've also never sought to, you know, like I've never been like, oh man, I want to go listen to the Beach Boys.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
like it's always just been on like in the background or whatever, and that's what I associated with. And this was not that.
No. This is way more experimental. This is, I mean, I think the most apt description of this is post Pet Sounds.
Yeah.
And if Pet Sounds is the masterpiece that everybody acclaims it to be, and I'm not, I don't know where it falls on this list. It's going to be really, really high. And when we get there, I'm probably going to say that it's a little bit overrated for me. But
yeah,
just listen to Endless Summer. All right. Just
what did you think of this one though?
Well, there were only two songs that stood out to me. All right. Darlin' was one, and that was a deeper cut. And
is that because of the horns?
It actually, yes. Listen, I'm a fucking sucker for horns, but it actually reminded me of a Billy Joel song, is what it reminded me of.
That's kind of what I'm saying. Is a lot of this stuff reminds me of other music. You know?
Yeah, and that's. I mean, is that really what you want?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like they're reaching here. They're trying something new because they hit it big with Pet Sounds, and also with the personnel issues that they were having. They were kind of searching, but I think some of it sort of works, but some of it doesn't at all. So what was the other song that you said that stuck out to you?
Mama Says.
Oh, the acapella one?
Yeah.
Do you like that one?
It's a vocal jam.
I was curious how you'd think of that. Yeah.
I literally made the note that this was like when Fish does a vocal jam, this is kind of what they're hoping that they get.
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of silly, but like an amiable end to the album.
Yeah.
And I mean, excellent harmony vocals, of course. I mean, it's Beach Boys. So you're going to get those incredible rich harmonies that they do so well.
But that's my beef.
You didn't get enough of that?
You don't get hardly any of that on this record.
I think the first song that really, for me, the harmony stuck out on was Country Air, which was track 4. And I was like, finally, there's those famous Beach Boys harmonies.
I literally said.
You wrote the same thing?
Well, pretty close to that.
Yeah.
This is what I wrote. I wrote, yay, the Beach Boys are on this album too. Because up till that point in time, it fucking wasn't. It just wasn't.
The song that came before that, I Was Made to Love Her. You know who that actually reminded me of? Is the White Stripes. The vocal style and just the simple, like 3-chord, almost like soul rock, kind of like, but almost like soul garage rock. Like there was definitely some soul influence on this record.
I liked the bass line. I really liked the bass work on I Was Made to Love Her.
Yeah.
Like, it was a cool bass line.
But that one sounds a lot like some songs on Get Behind Me, Satan, the White Stripes album to me.
Okay.
And I was just thinking, like, I would never have expected, if you asked me, like, was Jack White influenced by the Beach Boys? I would have been like, no, you know?
Yeah, there's no way.
Do you have any favorite songs on it, Justin?
So I think I'm gonna flip flop my whole spiel here, or my shtick, and I'm gonna agree with Mike, what Mike's saying here.
Oh,
but I'm gonna trust JB's opinion on this.
That's a risky move there, brother.
I hear what you're saying, right? So like, I didn't give it enough of a chance, I don't think, because it wasn't what I expected it to be, right? You know, like I wanted this, you know, Endless Summer, like that's what I expect, you know. So I kind of dismissed it, but what was the Darling, right? Like that is one that stood out to me a bit. So I would have to say that is probably my favorite off of it.
The song that came after Darlin', I'd Just Love to Wants to See You, was kind of downright creepy, I gotta say. Did you like listen to the lyrics on that? It's basically about a desperately horny guy trying to convince a girl to bang him.
Yeah.
And like it builds up, it's short, and he's like, I'm doing the dishes, and why don't you give me one more chance? And then he's like, at the very end, he's like, I just love to see you. I just love to see you. I just love to see you in the nude. And then the song's over. That's it.
I actually thought that song was kind of endearing.
Oh,
in like a weird kind of cute little way.
yeah. It just came like I get that perspective totally, but it just came across like just kind of creepy to me.
Yeah, I think I picked up on that like briefly. I was like, I was listening to on headphones like kind of while working at the computer, and I feel like I was responding to an important email or whatever like at that time. But like I was like,
Yeah, I had to go back because I was like confused. Like, did he just say in the nude? And I like rewinded it. I was like, yeah, he did.
Okay.
Should we move on?
Exhibit.
Or no, we're still talking about
End. Listen, 51 minutes, 21 tracks. It includes Surf and Safari, Surfer Girl, Catch a Wave, The Warmth of the Sun, Surfer USA, Little Deuce Coupe, In My Room, I Get Around.
There's
Don't
too
worry,
many songs
baby.
with Surfer in the style. In the
Stop
title.
it. Don't Worry, Baby, California Girls, Help Me Rhonda, and Good Vibrations.
Nah,
you mean the one that
We're not even
should
going to
be on this
fucking
list?
get Good Vibrations.
I'm okay with it. I got to be honest with
Fuck. What?
you.
Really?
I don't really care about any of those songs. I know most of them, but I'm never gonna like. Would you add that to digital?
I own the vinyl of Endless Summer.
But do you have it on? But do you have it for the collection, or because you actually want to listen to it?
I actually own it because it was my mom and dad's record. And I listened to it a lot as a kid growing up. And so that's probably part of what that's
The
probably
nostalgia factor.
Yeah, the nostalgia factor for me is probably what gets it. And especially with that particular album. But if you dig early Beach Boys, if you like the harmonies, if you like the surf pop or the beach pop, whatever you want to call it, just skip all this bullshit and go to Endless Summer.
This is not that at all. Yeah.
Listen, are you keeping this on your list?
Probably not, to tell you the truth.
How about fuck no?
I mean, I'm certainly keeping Pet Sounds on here, obviously, and I
Well,
have
we
no
haven't even gotten
problem.
there.
I know, but I'm just because I want to like make it clear my opinion on the Beach Boys. I'm not even opposed to Endless Summer being on the list. Probably should be. Probably should replace this.
And the other one.
But like I said, so I can like separate, my opinion of like, and I'm not saying I dislike those Beach Boys songs. I don't really care that much about them. I'm not going to seek them out. And, but they should be on the list. That album should be on the list. We'll have to do that as a snub episode, actually.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, that would be that's a
Should
great
we write
album
that
for the
down?
snub.
Yeah.
That's a great album for a snub episode.
You got
All
it?
right.
You going to write it down?
Yeah, I'll write it down because let's move on. Because the
Okay.
next one we're going to end up is going to be deep dive.
Did you add to digital on this one, Justin? You know how we do this here.
Yeah.
No, I didn't, but I did add Endless Summer.
You added in the summer?
I did not add it to digital. There's no way that this is staying. I'm not keeping this on my
If
list.
you guys saw this in the $3 bargain bin at the record shop, would you buy it?
Bye, Felicia. No.
I would not buy Felicia.
No. I
I'd
wouldn't
try to
either.
haggle down to $250.
I mean, if somebody wanted to give it to me, but if they gave it to me as a gift, I'd be
I'd-
pissed.
Right.
Noted. Cross that off the list for Mike's Christmas next year.
If somebody gave it to me, I would give it to you.
Okay. All right.
Would you take the cellophane off first? Try to pass it off as a vintage, or
No, I
I'm
would.
just
I would
trying-
be honest. I would tell
Oh,
you
okay.
exactly
All
what
right.
it is.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Luke gave this to me because
Because he couldn't sell it.
he couldn't sell it. So I'm giving it to you.
Wow, you guys were pretty harsh on that one. Let's move on.
It was real.
Let's talk about an album that we're all just going to have a big circle jerk on for sure. Number 409 is Grateful Dead's Working Man's Dead from 1970. Rolling Stone describes it. We weren't feeling like an experimental music group, but we're feeling more like a good old band, Jerry Garcia said. The Dead stripped down for Working Man's Dead with eight spooky blues and country songs that rival the best of Bob Dylan, as in the Morbid Black Peter and Dire Wolf. Garcia and Robert Hunter proved themselves one of rock's sharpest songwriting teams with the acoustic hymn Uncle John's Band. Hunter said, "It was my feeling about what the Dead was and could be. It was very much a song for us and about us in the most hopeful sense." Commence circle jerk. Reach to your left.
Well, actually, yes, let's all reach to our left except for JB.
Oh, yeah,
JB
because
needs to reach to his right.
We have special beers provided to us by April Leonard, who will be appearing in the bonus episode today. So thank you, April.
Thank you, April. Literally, Circle Jerk beer, because this is the Deadhead IPA series. The soundboard, it's a low-cal hazy IPA, which when I read that, I read Deadhead shitty beer series, soundboard, shittiest part of California, hazy, disgusting shit.
It's not good.
That was harsh.
that was April in the background, by the way, opining that she also did not feel that this was a worthwhile.
Cheers, boys.
Absolutely. Here's to the Dead. Here's to a fucking great Dead album, by the way.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun so far. Let's continue it.
Oh, it's not that bad. It's not that bad at all. It's just like a slightly watered down IPA. Mike, you got to finish that whole thing, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, finish it. Finish it. Chug it.
Okay. This is what my question is. So I am the least initiated into the Grateful Dead between the three of us. I have no problem in saying that because the Grateful Dead for me didn't. I'm gonna say that the Dead did not click for me in earnest until probably about April of last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's not to say that I didn't try. That's not to say that I haven't listened to plenty of Dead. But when I say click for me,
I remember that. He's telling a true story because we talked about this.
Yeah.
Before.
And it used to be something that I would listen to the Grateful Dead and I could appreciate it for what it was, but I never sought it out. And my life is not that way anymore.
Yeah.
In fact, even on the way over tonight, I wasn't listening to Working Man's Dead. My go-to is Europe 72. And there's just a bunch of tracks on there. And so I was listening to China Cat Sunflower from 72, which is just fucking obscenely
real
good.
gem.
But
was that a China Rider?
Is that no, that's not a China Rider, because everything's mixed up on Europe 72. It's all pulled from individual shows, so you don't get any.
You know that they edited that too. Did you ever read about that? Like they went through and recorded harmony vocals and stuff, and Jerry cleaned a lot of stuff up because he was like, "Wow, whoever sung that line sucks." I'm gonna get in there and change that.
But I adore this album, and I adore it for a number of reasons, but. You know,
this album is fucking fantastic. We could spend probably 5 minutes talking about most of the songs on this album.
What's your favorite? What's your go-to on Working Man's Dead?
So I have a similar rating system to Mike. Rarely do I give out more than 3 stars. Most of the time, 3 stars is my top. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 songs on this record that I gave 5 stars to. Okay.
I got 3 of them.
Yeah. Uncle John's Band. I'll tell you what my 5 stars are. Uncle John's Band.
Yep. Check.
Love it. Incredible. And we can spend a little time talking about each of these, but I'll just kind of rattle off my 5-star list. So Uncle John's Band, Direwolf, 5 stars.
I love Direwolf.
New Speedway Boogie, 5 stars. Cumberland Blues, 5 stars. And Casey Jones, 5 stars.
Fascinating.
How about you? What were your 5 stars?
So my 5 stars were Uncle John's Band, Casey Jones as well, obviously. But my other one for 5 stars, and I love Cumberland Blues, I love New Speedway Boogie, and I love Direwolf too. I gave all those 3 stars.
Was it High Time?
Easy Wind, actually.
Easy Wind.
I fucking love Pigpen, dude.
I gotta say that was my only 1-star.
Fuck off! What? Why? Do you not like Pigpen?
You know, and we'll talk about this here because I have some thoughts about Pigpen. I think Pigpen's great, and I like him. Pigpen was a fantastic musician, but in my opinion, not right for the Dead at all. He didn't fit with what they were going for at all. He wanted the Dead to go into a much more traditional blues, non-experimental direction. He was much more into that kind of stuff, and I like his voice. I think he's a great musician. Would have loved to hear him play with a different band. And for me, he doesn't fit with what the Dead kind of stand for in general. And I respect him immensely. Don't get me wrong. I'm a fan of Pigpen, and I'm not trying to talk shit about Pigpen in the slightest. But
no, I get it.
It doesn't. I think he should have played with a different band.
I absolutely understand why you're saying that, but I also think that he's the reason why the Dead stayed a little bit grounded, and that was okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it might have had a factor in it, but I don't love the Dead doing their straight up blues tunes, and Easy Wind is kind of one of those too.
It is.
Yeah.
It very much is. But what do you think? Because the harmonies on this album, in my mind, are the best harmonies that you get. This is the
Dead.
This is the best Dead harmony that you get.
Probably.
And I feel like the only reason why this is the best that you get is because you get Pigpen in there.
You think so?
Yeah, it's not.
He's
just
definitely like better than Phil.
Yeah, it's not just Jerry,
you,
Phil, and Bob. Like you get Pigpen in these harmonies, and it's fucking magic. The harmonies on this record are so outstanding.
Yeah,
in my mind, they rival anything that the Beach Boys do. It's different. It's not the same as what the Beach Boys are doing, but it rivals it. Just in terms of like depth and. Yeah, just like the depth and fullness of the harmonies that they create on this album, particularly the ones that we've already talked about, right? Uncle John's Band is a phenomenal example of just real depth in harmonies.
That's some of the best, the most incredible is Uncle John's Band for sure. But yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I'm surprised, but not that it's a bad thing. Just difference of opinion. That's awesome.
What do you got?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess I would say for me, the standout is really New Speedway Boogie.
Mm-hmm.
I know it. April, kind of my wife, who's going to be on here next, which is very exciting for the bonus. But, you know, she kind of let me see this in a little bit of a new light, just like for really kind of what it is. Like Uncle John's Band and Casey Jones, I've heard and listened to it so much. Like I don't listen to it anymore. I kind of live within them, you know, like, so for me, like if Uncle John's Band's playing, like, it's not just, you know, like it's a very weird thing maybe, but like, I'm just part of it, you know? So it's
you're not like listening critically anymore because you're just it's just such ingrained in your life at this point. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, like I said, those two, you know, are just kind of, you know, old standards, and I'll always love them. They're just going to be great, and you know, all of that. But like New Speedway Boogie really stood out, and I'm a lyrics guy through and through, you know, so like I kind of went through and sort of like delved into it. But from New Speedway Boogie, there's, you know, just one part that's now I don't know, but I've been told it's hard to run with the weight of gold, right? On the other hand, I heard it said it's just as hard with the weight of lead.
Incredible.
Right. You know, like just so good. Like, and this, so I don't know if it's known, but like Robert Hunter wrote every single word on this album. Yeah.
Wow.
So all of these lyrics,
these are all Jerry tunes then.
Yeah, Phil's on one.
I was going to say, because Phil co-wrote one of these with Robert Hunter, right?
Well, Phil and Jerry co-wrote one of them. I don't know exactly which one it is, but what's also interesting, and I lost my notes, like I said, but Robert Hunter wrote the words and lyrics to one of them as well. But all of the lyrics on this album are all Hunter.
All Hunter. Okay, it's interesting. So yeah, this must have been, I guess this is real early, and maybe Bob wasn't doing a ton of writing at this point.
I think so.
Because he was really young.
Yeah, because this is all from the 69 era.
Yeah. And when they started writing these. And Bob was like maybe 20 at that time, you know, in like the late 60s. It's like 2023 or something like that.
Man, when the Dead first started recording, fucking Bob Weir was 16 years old.
So then he was probably not even 20 at this point.
I don't think he was 20. I think he was probably like 18.
And the reason I was talking about that is because that's one of the famous partnerships there is Jerry and Robert Hunter. And then, oh my God, I'm going to feel like an asshole because I can't remember the guy's name right now, but it was Bob Weir and another guy. Who the fuck was it? Do you know?
I was about to say Tom Marshall.
No,
I'll get it for you in a second.
Tom Marshall will not be appearing on this list. I'm sorry. That's how bad this list sucks.
So John Barlow.
Yes.
So that was the guy that worked with Bob a lot. And then, you know, but John Barlow would write the lyrics and Bob would write the music, just like Jerry and Robert Hunter. So what other lyrics stuck out to you, Justin?
I guess from High Time.
Fuck yeah! I was hoping someone would talk about High Time. That's like one of my favorites.
All right, good. Do you have a favorite portion of it, or I mean, so lyrically or just in general? Is what?
Both. I mean, the lyrics are incredible. I like the last one that talks about come in when it's raining.
Right.
Going out. Yeah. But you go ahead and tell us what.
So it's nothing's for certain. Could always go wrong. Come in when it's raining.
Yeah.
Go out when it's gone. You could have us a high time, living the good life. Well, I know.
Yeah. Such an incredible song. Did you like High Time, Mike?
Yeah, I loved it. I gave it 2 stars.
Grateful Dead Waltz.
Yeah.
Pedal steel, killing it on that one. It's waltzy country, done super well.
The harmonies on that song are fucking
so
ridiculous, dude. Like the harmonies on that song are so good. And that was the first song that Phil Lesh is fucking so underrated in
He's
the
such
pocket.
an interesting bass player.
The pocket that he creates is just really unique.
Because it's really an abnormal pocket. Like
It's-
when you think pocket, like traditional pocket bass playing, he is not that at all.
No,
He makes his own fucking pocket. Yeah.
but it's still there, right?
He creates he implies it almost. It's like an implied pocket situation, don't you think? It's like not the same as a normal, like it's not like traditional pocket.
It's not a traditional, but you get the same level of, it feels just as tight. Does that make sense? Right. So when you talk about a bass player and a drummer, like finding a pocket, it's almost as if like those two instruments have just fused together to create a rhythm,
like a lock and key
that the melody and the harmony can't escape from. Right.
Right.
Like that's the notion. That's the metaphor of, man, that's a deep pocket.
Right.
Right. You're so deep inside of there that no matter what you're trying to do over the top of it, whether it's improvisation, whether it's a written melody or harmony, you can't escape.
You can't throw it off.
The gravity that's created by the bass and the drum. Right.
Mhm.
That's what a pocket is.
Sure.
Phil's pockets they're different because it's almost going back to what we were talking about with the meters, like the idea of a tight, loose axis.
Yeah, because I was going to say something similar. It's tight, it's a pocket, but at the same time, it allows for much more exploration than a traditional pocket.
There's freedom.
Yeah.
Right. So in other words, like the lock between the drum and the lock.
Sorry, guys. There we go. Oh, nope. Do wiggle it again. We're having some very slight
Wiggle it.
Technical difficulties here.
Just
So just give us 1 second, guys. Wiggle it a little bit more.
Check.
There it is. There it is. You're back.
So sorry.
Sorry,
Okay.
guys.
I'm going to try and not touch my microphone again for the rest of this night. It's that idea of a tight, loose axis, though,
Mhm.
right? So what Phil is doing is he's leaving himself all of this room for exploration and improvisation on his own, but he's never getting so far away from the percussion that the depth and tightness of that pocket disappears.
Correct. Yeah. I agree with you 100% on that.
And I love it. You feel it, like it is so there in High Time.
Yeah.
So there in High Time.
Dire Wolf is so much fun.
yes.
It's just like country, the best Country Dead, the best version of Country Dead. Don't murder me. Please don't murder me. You've got a lot of lyrics marked there in your book, Justin. I want to hear some more of your favorites.
Well, so this one, like nothing, there's no, so some of the ones that I read, like have like this verse to it, or like, these little meaningful things. This is more of sort of like a story, where you're out in the woods, the ground's frozen, it's cold, it's wintertime, right?
Yeah.
And, like it seems to me like you're just kind of alone and, you've got your bottle of whiskey and it's like this imaginary wolf almost.
Do you think
right?
it's okay? That's what I was going to talk about. Do you think it's you think it's like in his mind?
I do. That's kind of what I got from it. Right. So like you just go through it and
Like some dark part of his psyche that's creeping up on him.
or even like, he's just so bored and like there's nowhere to go because there's 10 feet of snow outside and he's just got a deck of cards and maybe he's playing solitaire, right? And
Yeah.
he's just
He's kind of entertaining himself.
right, hoping to get through the woods or
Yeah. I love
sort
that
of thing. What do you think about it?
Yeah. I've never actually thought about it that way. For some reason, I've always just thought of dire wolf as like a literal dire wolf, and they were just writing a song about a fucking werewolf kind of guy that was creeping up on him. But I feel like you're definitely right. Now that I heard you say that, it like clicked in my head. Like obviously they're talking about some kind of part of his own mental situation or something. But I do like that they mentioned Fenario in that song.
I did too. Yes.
Because that's not a real place, right? That's like a place that Jerry Garcia invented. Yeah.
So what's nice about this book here, it's like all annotated. So there is like actually the first one, because in the timbers of Fenario, the wolves are running around. It's
The
like
winter was so hot and cold,
Yeah,
froze
yeah.
10 feet beneath the ground.
You got it right. So the first footnote then is it says Fenario, mentioned in the folk song, the Bonnie Lass of Fenario, previously titled Peggio.
Yes.
The relevant line is, as we march down to
From
Fenario.
Fenario. Yeah. He mentions Fenario in several songs. And so Peggio is a cover, right?
It is. Yep.
So like he kind of latched onto that, place that was mentioned in that poem, and he mentions it in several other songs, and it's almost like become a mythical installation in the Grateful Dead world.
Yep.
Fenario.
That's pretty much what it seems like. So the question comes: is this place really real? And
Yeah.
So it's a fictitious land of like just a lowland covered by some marsh and shit.
Let's talk about Cumberland Blues. You like that one?
I mean, I like it, yeah. But Mike, what do you think?
I love Bobby on that one.
Yeah.
That's a super, super young Bobby. And we were talking about that. We were talking about how young he is when they recorded this record.
Yeah.
And that's one of the notes that I love about Cumberland Blues is you get him and you can hear the youthfulness in it, if that makes sense.
Big time. Yeah.
And I love it. Absolutely love it.
So good. Like when the first vocal harmonies come in, it's just like a total cacophony. It's like there's so many voices going on there, and some of them are dissonant. Like the I can't wait much longer, Belinda. You can almost barely pick out what the actual melody is.
Yeah.
I love it. It's so well done. Great guitar solo.
That's another one to me where if you lose Pigpen in that song, I think if you lose Pigpen in this whole record, I don't think this record works as well without him. But that's another one where I feel like his vocal contribution was tremendous.
I agree with that part of that. Yeah. And not to talk shit about Pigpen at all, but there was one thing I forgot to mention about Easy Wind.
Fuck,
right
man.
when
I
Jerry
love that song.
starts soloing,
Yeah.
Pigpen starts playing fucking harmonica over the solo. Why the fuck would you ever play a goddamn harmonica while Jerry Garcia is playing a solo on his guitar?
I thought you liked
Fuck
the
you,
harmonica.
Pigpen. Jerry's like playing a goddamn solo. He's like, I'm going to play this harmonica here. Just fucking murder everybody's ears.
My mouth organ is going to be so much better than that.
You know what would make
goddamn
Jerry's
guitar.
solo better? If I covered it up with this harmonica.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan. Totally necessary in my book.
Unnecessary. And I wrote the same thing about it in Black Peter, I got to say.
So Cumberland for me is, again, like it's a whole sort of story that you don't really realize unless, you kind of dive into the lyrics. Like there's Cumberland's a mine, right? And like, it's about like going in and out of the mines and kind of making a living and,
The plight of the working man.
Right. Yeah. Whether or not you get to work that day and all that sort of stuff. So there's like a deeper meaning behind it all, which,
Talks about the misfortunes of the other guys who don't even have a job and they're, yeah.
Right.
I think that another listener, I want to say that Linda gave us a list at one point in time of a list of the greatest singer-songwriter combinations.
And Jerry and Robert Hunter was one of them.
I'm almost certain that Jerry and Robert were on there.
Well, we'll get to that list, Linda.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe even sometime real soon.
This is definitely... There's a part of me that just wants to call this a country album.
It's very country.
Do you feel that way?
It's the countryest Dead album.
absolutely the Country is Dead album. And I think back to that article that we were talking about where they were talking specifically about the country music snubs and they listed that on there too, right? And I never really thought about this album as a country album until I saw it on there. And now whenever I do listen to it, it's hard for me not to think of it as such.
It's kind of almost alt country though. It's like a
Yes.
slightly different brand of country.
And that's exactly where I was going to go, because you can't call Casey Jones a country. You can't call that a country song. I don't think you can call, I don't even think you can really call Uncle John's Band a country song either. Like
Easy Win blues song for
yeah.
sure.
And there's a lot of folk influence here, because that's where I think Casey Jones,
The High Time.
yeah, Casey's just kind of weird in and of itself, right? But I almost feel like it's folk, country, psychedelia. It's a really, really wonderful, it's a wonderful mix of a bunch of different genres that all come together in a beautiful way.
And this actually takes me back to Flying Burrito Brothers, Gilded Palace of Sin. Remember that one?
Of course. How can I fucking forget that?
Yeah, you didn't, I remember you didn't like that one, but I remember when we talked about that, I mentioned that a couple songs reminded me of some Grateful Dead country, and specifically reminded me of this album.
Which songs?
I'd have to go, I probably have the notes here, but I could go back and look. I don't want to waste too much time trying to search for my my notes on this one here, but if I happen to pull them up right away, you guys can talk about something else real quick if you want.
Well,
take over.
Justin, tell me this, because obviously we're only at 409, and there's a part of me that listen, I'm a little bit of a jam band homer anyway to begin with, but this feels low to me. I don't like it here. I'd move it up. I mean, this is really a great album in my mind. Only if for no other reason, just because of how many genres it crosses over and how unbelievably well done it is. What's your take? Where do you like it on the list?
So I really think this list fucking sucks. So,
amen.
So, I would move it higher. There's, it's so controversial. Like all of this, like, what's on here, what's not, and it's personal preference and, all of that sort of thing. Me personally, I know the list. I know that you guys haven't really kind of looked at everything that's on there. I have, I would
still sucks.
It still sucks.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Give us a range. What range would you put this in?
I would move this up above 350, maybe above 300.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the list like you have, but it's hard to say that this doesn't belong above 300.
And that's being realistic about it, like if I was to have my way, like I said, I'm not very musically diverse. There's about 15 bands that I could tell you, almost every lyric and every album that they have. But, I also like I said, today was the first time I ever listened to Dr. Dog.
Yeah.
Right. So, I feel like I have this, different way of listening to music and, sort of like biased opinion about things, but being realistic and kind of, thinking about it as more, holistically, I would move it up. I think it deserves to be, above 350, maybe above 300. I own the album and, yeah,
I do as well. I own it, and I agree. It should be moved up.
Where do you want it? What range would you put it in?
Above 300 for sure. Perhaps above 250.
Okay.
Not above 200.
Okay, so not above 200. So 200 to 300 is where you're at. Yeah, I'm probably the same.
As mine.
If it went to 250 to 350 is probably my range. Because I could see it above. I could see it higher than 300, but if it only came in at 350, I'd probably be okay with that too. But this just seems.
It seems almost, yeah.
It seems low, but I feel like this got lumped into all the rest of the country that just got thrown out. And I'm like you guys, I already had this on my digital library. I already own the vinyl. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
And just to go back to, because I did find my Flying Burrito Brothers notes.
Yeah.
And so I wrote on the song Do Right Woman, which was the third track on that record. I wrote vocals reminiscent of Working Man's Dead. So
and that's it.
yeah. And I wrote Juanita, straight up sounds like the Dead or the Allman Brothers. Yeah. And I wrote just many parallels to the Dead and the Allman Brothers.
Well, we would be remiss not to mention Rex Todd, who was on the show last week. And listen, Rex loves this album. He says it's the Dead sound we all know. Great vocal harmonies, easy to listen to, fantastic blues guitar work through the album. I don't think it'd be okay if this is the only Dead album on the list, which is where I want to go to next. But this list is bullshit anyway. The tracks are catchy and somehow feel good. Really like this one. And going back to Beach Boys,
yeah, what'd he say?
He says it's a 180 from the traditional sound that everybody's accustomed to when it comes to the Beach Boys. It has heart. It's a brilliant trip on 1967 acid. This subtle experiment reminds me if CCR and the Beach Boys got together and started jamming out. Slow jams and poppy hits record this record. He loved it. He called it hands down an incredible record.
Wow.
Man, that's awesome. I'm glad he appreciated it. I wish I could have heard it with his ears.
Right.
But going back to the comment about this can't be the only Dead album on the list.
It's not.
It's fuck. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert from
We're
Justin.
speculating, Justin.
Okay, so Justin aside, because clearly he knows how many more are on the list.
Surely American Beauty.
That's what I was going to say. American Beauty has to be on the list.
Do we want to know how many or no? We don't want to know how many.
I mean,
I don't know exactly how many. So
I was going to ask you. So that's
I think American Beauty is actually going to be the only other Grateful Dead album that we get on this list.
I wouldn't be surprised if we get one more.
What?
What was the later one? Not Go to Heaven. The one that came after that.
In the Dark?
Yeah. Wouldn't be surprised if In the Dark was on there.
No way.
With a touch of gray.
Fucking higher than Working Man's Dead?
A touch of gray. That's probably their most famous
Higher
song.
than Working... No. Actually, Casey Jones is way more fucking famous than Touch of Grey.
Touch of Grey had a music video.
Yeah, I know. And Touch of Grey was their highest charting single. I get it, but really?
I'm not saying that that's where it should be, but I'm saying I wouldn't be surprised if that's where it was.
I would be fucking shocked if In the Dark is on this list.
I think there's two more.
Do you really?
That's my guess.
So you think American Beauty...
I don't want to make another bet. I'm in the hole here. Still haven't recouped my GameStop losses.
Wait, actually, yeah. So that was, like I said, I tried to send a voice message about a snub that I wanted to add to the snubs list.
And what was it? In the Dark?
No.
He's like, no, that doesn't belong on
In the Dark by the Grateful Dead.
No, only I feel like if a band's on the list, right? Because that's the whole thing, right? With the snubs is like if an entire band isn't on the list.
No. Listen, let's be super clear because we also want to throw this out to everybody. We have this snub list that we're pulling from Reddit. As you're going, listen, if you're cheating, right? And it's not even cheating. Yeah. If you've gone through the entire list and you've gone through this list and you're like, holy fuck, how is this album not on the list? Send it to us. Right.
Yeah. Another suggestion from April is that we should compile a listener snub list. So if you are willing to spoil the list for yourself, if you're kind of playing along here and you don't mind being, having the list spoiled, then look ahead. And if you can think of an album that you think is you believe to be potentially a snub, then email it to us.
Absolutely. Send it to thislistsucks@gmail.com.
Better yet, send us a voice message describing why you think it's a snub, and we'll play your voice message on the podcast. Please do that.
Absolutely. Anchor.fm/thislistsucks. That's where you can leave us messages.
And the email is thislistsucks@gmail. Did you already say that? gmail.com.
That's
so
okay,
it's thislistsucks@gmail.com. Can you say it, Justin?
thislistsucks@gmail.com.
Okay. So send us your snubs.
So-
We're going to compile those. We might add them to the snub list and everything else too, but
I get to start it off then since I'm on the podcast.
I know.
I would go with spoiler alert because I've looked at all the list and my snub is Procol Harum. There's no Procol Harum on this list at all. And
wait, who is it?
Who? Oh, Jesus Christ.
Whiter Shade of Pale? No, you.
Okay. All right. So
All right. Let's
say it again.
I'm gonna make a note right now.
Procol Harum.
How do you even spell that?
How do you spell Procol?
Proccal.
CAL.
Procol and Harem like HAREM. And what's the album?
There's two. I mean, I guess.
Is there one that you think is a snub, or you think both of them are?
I'm just upset not to see.
You're just
that
saying the
one.
band in general. Okay.
Yeah.
Procol
Alright.
Harum. I'll put it. I started a snub list on my computer here, and they're number 1
Bingo.
on the list.
Yeah. So send us more.
Send us more to add to that list.
Okay. All that being said,
Let's move on.
Yeah,
Next
we
album.
love it. We love it. It's great.
We talked for 45 minutes about Grateful Dead, so
So sorry, folks. So sorry. This is going to
That's
be
okay.
a longer episode. It's just the way it goes.
yeah.
Next up, number 408 from 1980, Motorhead. The album Ace of Spades. Rolling Stone says neither punk nor metal. Motorhead played rock and roll nastier, grittier, and snarlier than their forebears on Ace of Spades. Amid a miasma of hypercharged guitar riffs and death-rattling drumming, frontman Lemmy Kilmister spits his time between sleazy come-ons of Love Me Like a Reptile, War Stories, We Are the Road Crew, and underdog maxims Lives to Win. The blazing title track epitomizes the Motorhead experience. You know I'm born to lose, and gambling's for fools, Lemmy growls, but that's the way I like it, baby. I don't want to live forever. And he meant it too. Rest in peace, Lemmy. 408, what do you say? What do you think about this?
Fuck yeah. That's the first reaction I have to say to this. This was so much fun to do this week.
Were you intimately familiar with this
No,
album?
intimately familiar with Ace of Spades, the song.
Of course.
You know,
Yeah.
In fact, I played it with my band before. The week that Lemmy passed, we did that.
Awesome.
So,
Shout out.
yes, but which I love that song, but I've never really taken the time to get further into Motorhead, and this is not a bad thing at all, but the album mostly sounds like Ace of Spades. You know, it's kind of a very similar sound. There's not a lot of variety here, but that's not, I don't mean that in a bad way. They found their sound and they fucking ride with it. And it is really good. Lemmy's voice is iconic. Really interesting the way he approached even singing. You know, he like, do you guys know this? He the way that he would sing is he would dangle a microphone from above him. And so that he was like reaching his, for those who aren't watching YouTube, he's reaching his neck up and singing upward, and it creates this strain on his neck because his microphone is dangling from above him, and it contributes to the way his voice sounds.
Seriously,
that's how he did it. Yeah. He's known for that.
Wow. I fucking no clue. What'd you think about this?
You know, I agree with JB.
Okay.
Who do you disagree with?
Yeah.
Mike. Wait, did he give his opinion? No, so I actually wrote down pretty much the same thing. Like, so it's super fun, but I don't really have any specific song comments because I just thought they were really all pretty similar, and I loved it. This was one of the only ones I actually listened to it 3 times.
Nice.
Because I was just kind of enamored by it, and I thought it was awesome. And not because of the mic dangling thing. I guess I didn't really know that, but I put on here specifically, like, I loved his accent. And mostly because, like, when he is saying an A, it's always an AI, like it's Ace of Spades, right?
Spades,
right? And
yeah.
the same thing with Reptile, right? Like, so it's like always,
So
always this like
He
AI.
digs into those vowels big
Yeah,
time.
yeah, you know, so like these big A's become these AIs and it's like stretched out, and I would have to maybe attribute that to the fact what JB's saying about this mic dangling and stuff. So I agree with JB on this one, and probably
That and his
disagree
like
with Mike unless he
overemphasized British accent for sure.
Listen, going back to Rex before I give my opine, Rex agrees with both of you guys. Fuck yes, this is a metal album. Back when there were guitar solos, bending riffs, and a loud bass, this head-bobbing tour de force of full throttle metal goes right to the core of rock and roll like a circular saw and keeps turning. Fantastic album. I love that. I love that description, and I love this album too. But here's my question. we've talked multiple times in the past about, is it more important to have the original idea or concept represented on this list, or is it better to have the derivative if the derivative is better? And where I'm going with this is this. To me, you guys have referred to this as a metal album. I'm going to get more specific, and I'm going to say that to me, this was the first real thrash metal album.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Because it's
I said
punk.
to April, or like a grunge metal for me.
Yeah. So if you trace back, like if you think about this being released in 1980, and then you think about Slayer's releases in 82, 83, 84, think about Metallica in 83, 84, 85.
Yeah.
That's the tree, right?
They were kind of bridging the gap there.
That's the tree, right? So you get these crazy punk sounds, but then you get kids that loved metal and loved punk, and that's Lemmy, right?
Mhm.
And Motorhead, and that's this fusion between punk and metal, which turned into thrash, right? Like that's what Slayer was listening to. That's what Metallica was listening to.
And it's just that combination of hardcore punk and metal.
That's
I
right.
think that led to that.
That's right.
In fact, there's like a specific title to that genre of music. And it's like a weird drawn out title. And I wish I knew it off the top of my head, but I'm pulling it up right now. It's called, they're considered a precursor to what's called the new wave of British heavy metal.
Okay.
And that's what they call it, new wave of British heavy metal. It has its own Wikipedia page.
That's kind of interesting because I guess they're probably throwing Iron Maiden in there in some respect, I would think. But see, Iron Maiden,
Def Leppard. Yeah, those are the big ones. Diamond Head, Venom, and Raven.
Yeah. See, to me, this album more informs really early Metallica, and it really informs Slayer. Like, you don't get Slayer without fucking Ace of Spades. But where I'm going with all of this is, as much as I love Ace of Spades, I think that I would probably rather see Seasons in the Abyss from Slayer, which is a much later Slayer release. You could argue for Rain and Blood if you wanted to try and get like a better corollary. Or I would even say Kill 'Em All or Ride the Lightning is probably a better representation of what this music is. And it's a case where the derivative was better than the original. And again, not to take anything away from Motorhead, not to take anything away from this album. I love this album, but it forces the question to my brain of, well, why did they pick this instead of Rain and Blood?
I think that's a legitimate opinion. But are you sure Rain and Blood's not on the list?
I can fucking almost promise you there's no fucking Slayer albums on this.
I don't know, man. I don't know that I would. I don't know about
Really?
that. I wouldn't be surprised if it was. I feel like it would have been mentioned in the snub list if it wasn't, to tell you the truth.
Really?
Yeah,
You
Rain
think
and
that
Blood.
there should be, you think that any Slayer album should be one of the greatest 500 albums of all time?
I think that Rain and Blood should be, yes.
Okay, listen, I'm right there with you,
Yeah.
but I think we're going to be sorely fucking disappointed.
Well, I hope not, man. I think that Slayer was like a massive pioneer in metal and thrash
right?
metal.
And thrash.
And just the number of genres. I mean, how many fucking metal genres are there these days? There's like 1,000 subgenres in
And
metal.
every single one of them has to
Was
point back to
influenced
Slayer.
by Slayer. I think it'd be a crime not to put Rain and Blood on the list. And I would be surprised and upset if it's not on here. And I
don't think
hope
it's gonna
that,
be on here.
well, we'll see. But with that being said,
Smells like a bed.
So
oh, Jesus, are we doing it?
No, because there's no fucking way you're going to win that bet. I genuinely believe
That's the only kind of bet I make, Mike.
Diamond hands with GameStop.
That's
bitch.
right. But
So
Anyways,
ultimately, you think this is a tipsy, fuddled bullshit derivative?
No, I actually
opposite.
support the derivative.
yeah, he's in favor of the
I
derivative.
am in favor of the derivative over the original. But all that being said, it was a question that came to my mind. I'm not upset with this album being on the list if this is going to be the representation of what I would call thrash.
In
It's
my
a great
opinion, they both
representation.
belong on there. I think this is different enough, and I think Lemmy needs represented on the greatest albums of all time list.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So you're good just because of the representation, just because of the shout out to Lemmy, because Lemmy was a
Which
character.
Lemmy is Motorhead. Let's be
Yeah.
real. I mean, he was the only consistent member in Motorhead throughout all the years. Lemmy Kilmister is Motorhead.
That's
and
right.
what a more, can you think of a more badass last name?
No.
Kilmister.
No. I
What?
picture a short little guy wearing an iron cross around his neck all the time.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing because that's exactly what he is. Oh yeah, I put a giant fat mole on his face too. Perfect. Check.
Yeah.
Done.
But for me, I added to digital. Just I didn't have it in there yet. And
Are you up
definitely
or down?
belongs on the list.
Do you like the placement of it? Would
I
you
like the
move it up or
placement.
down?
I don't feel super strongly about moving it up or down. Or I would certainly wouldn't move it down, but you could argue to move it up, but I'm not like set on it.
Okay. How about you, Justin?
I'm good with where it's at. I think it should be on here. I was pretty happy listening to it, and you know, it's got a place. So
I do want to mention. Sorry, you go to tell me your opinion, Mike.
Well, no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You think you could write a song and release a song like Jailbait today?
No. Fuck no.
I said I'm glad Lemmy hasn't been canceled.
Yeah.
Because that song is iffy.
Yeah.
It's basically like Jailbait. I just can't wait.
I just can't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's like, I better not ask how old you are and stuff like that.
It's really rapey. Like
It's super
it's
rapey.
really statutory rapey, which is not great. But I'm gonna keep it on the list. I like it. If you gave me the choice though of replacing this with one of those derivatives, and probably the best derivatives for me would be, I think you could replace this with Ride the Lightning, and I'd be really happy with that. I think you could replace this with Raining Blood. I'd be really happy with that. But if I was going to replace it with anything, I would replace it with Seasons in the Abyss, which is not even really a thrash album.
I'm not as familiar with Seasons in the Abyss, so that's
Shame on you,
interesting.
Gutter.
Yeah, should I dig into it?
Yeah, you should. It's my
I
favorite
love Rain
Slayer
and Blood.
album.
Okay,
Yeah, it's my favorite Slayer. Let's go on though.
Yeah.
Because the next one's a jam.
let's do it. Neil Young coming in at 407. Our first Neil Young record.
Mm-hmm.
Probably you're gonna have a couple more of those. We'll get to that. Everybody knows This Is Nowhere from 1969. Neil Young and Crazy Horse hadn't been together for more than 8 weeks when they cut this album. It's down home hippie grunge with the feel of a jam session conducted by master jammers. Both sides of the album end in monster 10-minute guitar excursions, especially Down by the River and Cowgirl in the Sand, and Cinnamon Girl was Young's first big solo single. 3 minutes of crunching distortion featuring a one-note guitar solo for the ages. The closest thing Crazy Horse had to a hit. Wait,
Young
are
said.
they talking
What a
about
dick.
Crazy Horse had to a hit? Young said, yeah. Oh, I didn't read those last two words. The one-note guitar solo, are they talking about one Cinnamon Girl?
No, they're talking about Down by the River.
That's what I thought, but then they said Cinnamon Girl, Young's first big solo single, 3 minutes of crunching distortion featuring, and that's weird to me because when I think about the one note solo, I think about Down by the River, but they're clearly referencing Cinnamon Girl right there.
Yeah, they are.
The way it's worded, unless it was just poorly worded, but it says, yeah.
Listen, I'd never listened to this album before. I was familiar with Cinnamon Girl because
Just from radio stuff
yeah,
or
because
whatever.
how could I not be?
Yeah.
But everything else on this album was new to me, and this album is it's a revelation.
Dude,
Period.
I'm
Point
so
blank.
glad to hear you say that because last week when we were talking about this, I was like, does he really not like Neil Young or like has he just like maybe not dug in as much as he's going to this week? And
I've
that
just
was the
never
case.
dug in. Yeah, I've just never
Because
dug in.
this album's wild, isn't it?
It's fucking
So
unbelievable.
good. Yeah.
I mean, it's just really, really unbelievable. And to me, it speaks to two things. A, Young's ability as a crafter of songs, Young's ability as a guitar player, which I think is kind of underrated in some ways. But man,
It's all about the feel.
his ability to jive with the other guys from Crazy Horse, they make special music, period. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, they got the sound together.
Just really, really
They have a special sound. Agree 100%. About his guitar, I mean, it's nothing like super overly technical or anything, but he's just extremely, it's just dripping in feel the whole time. He's like, you can tell that he's really expressing his emotions when he plays guitar. I feel like Neil is just really telling you who he is and what he's all about when he's playing a guitar solo on this record. It's wild. What do you think about this one, Justin?
So I guess I had sort of a different take. I was familiar with Cinnamon Girl and Down by the River. I thought that it started off, pretty good with Cinnamon Girl. And then the way that the record took me, contextually, it drug down by the river. Like Down by the River almost wasn't as good listening to the whole album as listening to it by itself.
Were there specific songs that kind of did that to you?
I wish that I would have had more time to go through it again. I didn't. This is, a one listen sort of take. I think that for me, as a whole, it didn't quite do as much as it sounded like it did for you guys. Like I said, Down by the River itself, that's one of the ones I knew. I was super excited to hear it, but contextually within the album, I think it sort of drug that down.
Just didn't have the same impact when you listen to it in the context of the album.
Yeah. And that's fine, that's all right. But it was very downbeat. I would have liked a bit more gusto from it in general. So
some of it is a little drawn out and jammy,
and that's normally fine, but yeah. So I would have to say for me that this was underwhelming.
Wow. Hot take there.
Had you heard it before?
So I was saying I had heard Cinnamon Girl and Down by the River, and I was kind of, it started off with Cinnamon Girl, and that was fine. I'm not, that's not one of my favorite songs, but I don't hate it at all, So I was and I do enjoy Down by the River, but contextually, I said this to JB already.
Just didn't work as well for you.
Yeah, Down by the River in the middle of kind of
not even the harmonies. The harmonies didn't get you.
They're fine. I don't hate it by any means. I would listen to it again, but when you think of I just think that there's a lot more Neil Young out there and available. And
wow,
we're definitely going to get a couple more Young records on this one.
Yeah,
I like Cinnamon Girl. Cinnamon Girl is hard rock. Neil Young. You don't get a lot of that. And I remember I read somewhere that. Let me see what I wrote exactly. Neil Young is considered the godfather of grunge or something like that. Yeah, right there. Yeah, godfather of grunge. It'd be due to the way that he plays a lot of lead guitar, which is distorted, but
due to his amazing
not metal
shows,
distorted. It's more
due to those amazing shows that he's played with the other members of Pearl
Jam. It was
and Golden
specifically
Gate Park
due
in
to that show.
1995.
Yep, that was the one. That specific show.
Yeah,
is just a legendary.
Can I tell y'all something?
Yeah.
I fucking went out on the Setlist FM
because
I was very concerned that I was just making shit up about 1995 whenever I saw that, right? And I reviewed the set list. And they fucking did play Rockin' in the Free World twice. Those motherfuckers. They played it once.
Did they play it twice or did they played it and they weaved back into it?
No. They played it the third song and then they played it again as the last song in the encore.
It was like a reprise.
No. They fucking did the whole thing.
They just did the whole thing.
This wasn't a Rockin' in the Free World reprise.
Okay. Was there a political reason, you think? At the time?
Yeah, Bill Clinton, that motherfucker.
So to save a little bit of face here, I will say that I do know how many Neil Young albums are on this list.
Specifically Neil Young, are you counting Buffalo Springfield? Are you counting
no,
Crosby,
Stills, Nash and Young?
I know how many, depends on what you want to count. Yes, I know.
How many just Neil Young or Neil Young and Crazy Horse?
Well, do you want to know?
There's one more. There's one more.
Well, no, there's 6 Neil Young alone albums on this list.
Harvest
Holy
is the
fuck.
highest.
Wow.
And there's 1 Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
Wow.
I guarantee you Harvest.
So no Buffalo Springfield? There's fucking no Buffalo Springfield on this list?
I didn't group that together when
Okay.
I was sorting and files.
Okay, that's fair.
So there could be some Buffalo Springfield.
There could
There
be.
needs to be Buffalo. There should be, right?
But
It's hard to
but
not
Neil
put for
Young
what it's worth on
himself,
there.
You're gonna get 5 more.
Wow.
So that being said, is kind of why
That's why you're okay with feeling a little bit underwhelmed by
I gotta
this.
say, if there's 5 more Neil Young records, this is placed low, in my opinion. This is towards the top for me in terms of Neil. I mean, obviously Harvest is probably one of his greatest releases, and I'm sure that will be the top one. Almost no doubt in my mind that that'll be the top Neil Young record on the list. But beyond that, what else is going to be above this? Like Down by the River, Cowgirl in the Sand, I mean, Cinnamon Girl. Even Cinnamon Girl.
I love the title track, man. Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere was fucking
That's a great song, dude. Like, it's country rock.
Yeah.
Did you hear about that one? I dug into Wikipedia a little bit on that. That was a scratch vocal.
Yes,
that he just recorded randomly, and they were.
He recorded on like the board mic or something.
Yeah,
like
he wasn't even in the vocal booth.
He wasn't.
He
even
was
in the
literally
booth.
just singing it from the boardroom.
Yeah,
as like a scratch vocal. For those who don't know, is something that you record while you record other instruments.
Yeah,
because you intend to go back and record a legitimate vocal track, but you just record a rough one just as a reference for the other instruments that are playing. And he ended up liking the contrast of that one. There's no reverb even. They didn't even put any reverb on it. No. It's just straight. Also, the other thing is Cinnamon Girl. You probably read the same thing, but Cinnamon Girl, Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere, Down by the River, and Cowgirl in the Sand were all written by Neil Young in one day while he was running 103-degree fever.
Fever dreams.
He wrote all those songs in one day.
Yeah, that's some crazy shit. Yeah, and I did read that. And it's just it adds to the lore for me to this album, but it's the non-big songs that really got it for me. I loved the chord progression in Round and Round, the third track.
That was a good one.
Fucking adored the chord progression.
That was kind of like a slower, like a pensive acoustic kind of jam.
Yeah.
I like his brand of falsetto quite a bit.
Thank you. And I was going to say the vibrato that he puts on his voice, and I don't even think that he's intentionally doing it. It's just that there's this natural tremolo that comes with his voice whenever he holds a note.
There's waveriness. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that.
It doesn't even sound like he's necessarily intentionally doing it. He can't help it. It's just his voice.
It's just his voice.
I loved The Losing End. When you're on the losing end.
This is just like Working Man's Dead for me. There's not a single song on this record that I didn't put a star next to. And the only thing that I did is I did highlight the big ones, right? So Down by the River was the one that I gave the most stars to. Cinnamon Girl and Cowgirl in the Sand.
Cowgirl in the Sand is incredible. That was one that I've heard a couple times, but I'd never really given it its fair due. That's a great song.
I love it.
That's like
maybe I just wasn't in the right mindset. Like the dreariness of it all, like just didn't.
It's a downer.
It is kind of somber,
and I'm all for that in the right context. So I don't know. I guess I just didn't listen to it, and that's fine. Like this is my take on it from when I did listen to it, whatever sort of mind state I was in. But I'll go back when I'm having one of those days, and maybe it'll be
and it'll click with you better. Well, and this is also. I've never done any big, thick, deep dives into Neil Young's catalog. And so for me, again, I knew Cinnamon Girl on this record. That's it.
That's the only one.
I'd never even heard fucking Down by the River.
I'm amazed you didn't know Down by the River.
And
I think you're going to really fall in love with that.
It's revelatory, right? I mean, it's really
an
incredible song. And I felt the same way about Cowgirl in the Sand. So, I'm going to chalk up a lot of my kind of awe and love for this record just to the fact that it's so novel for me.
When April's mom comes out to visit, we should have her bring her 67 Gibson and play it on the podcast, because apparently she plays Down by the River.
Nice.
Deal. We'll have that done for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So, okay, so we've already talked about this a little bit, right? We know that there's a ton of other Neil Young on here. Justin, I'm curious with you, do you even want to keep this on the list, or are you?
No, I don't, because of the fact that I know what's not on the list.
Mm-hmm.
right? And no, like
you would scrap this for something that's on a snub list for you.
yeah, just because there's right, like I don't think as great as any band is, like like 6 albums on a 500 list, right? You're talking about a percentage there,
Yeah.
right? Like come on, like let's be realistic. Like not one band or one person can be that influential that you leave off some of these snubs.
Well, I don't know. I might argue the opposite. I might argue, let's be realistic. Maybe these bands really are just that good, and that's why they had this much success. And I'm not discounting your point. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate there.
That's
like the Beatles, for example. It's legit. Every of their albums should be on the list. There's no way that every single album they ever released shouldn't be considered one of the best albums of all time, because they're the best band of all time, probably, right?
and I agree with that because they're the Beatles. Neil Young doesn't do that for me.
I think that's fair. I get that.
I'm not, again, I wasn't trying to
No. Yeah,
shit talk your
no,
opinion. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate there. Like, I think it is realistic that several bands could have that many. Like, if you're really that good, and you like, some people are just on another level than other bands, and like if you've reached that level where you're writing that kind of music and you've tapped into whatever that is that nobody else has figured out how to tap into, and you can do it again and again, then those are probably some of the best albums of all time.
I like this album on the list. It's probably even low for me. I'd probably like to see this album move up by about 50 notches for me.
I could agree with that.
Yeah.
Especially because I feel like I'm going to maybe disagree with the placement of the Neil Young albums, just because I can see Harvest being above this one in terms of Neil Young, but I feel like this is maybe should be in the top half of the Neil Young records that are on this list. Maybe it'll be a situation where I agree with you, and I think maybe they should take a couple off,
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Like completely. Yeah. And, I think that there's a place for multiple albums for, a lot
for
of
some artists, but you're just saying not with Neil Young.
For me personally,
Yeah.
Well, not 6.
Yeah.
No, that's a legit
That's fair.
perspective. I get that 100%. So
I think that's fair. All right. Should we do the last?
yes.
Thanks everybody for sticking with us. Like, we know this has been a long episode.
It's actually not even that long.
Really?
We're only sitting at like an hour, 26 minutes right now. So we're doing okay.
That's not too bad. We haven't crushed people yet. We'll try and get this wrapped up for you. All
you
right.
can
the
leave
last
your
one.
comments and vote me off. So
no, you've been a pleasure to have on so far,
Yeah.
Justin. Again, we want to reiterate, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. And this week was just, listen, we got fucked with the Grateful Dead. Right. And so like we intentionally brought you on for that, but we're also fanboys. And so we knew that we were going to get a little bit fucked by that, but that's okay. All right. So the last album that we're going to talk about this week, number 406, released in 1999 by the band The Magnetic Fields. The album is entitled 69 Love Songs. Rolling Stone says, quote, "It started with the title," end quote, Stephen Merritt said of 69 Love Songs, which he imagined in the Sinatra era tradition of theme albums. A tour de force of pop mastery, his 3-disc splurge had everything from lounge jazz to podunk country to punk parody, peaking with sidelong standards like Papa Was a Rodeo and The Luckiest Guy on the Lower East Side. God level moment. Fuck you, Rolling Stone. God level moment, the death of Ferdinand de Saussure, which is titled after a French linguist and rhymes his name with Closure, Bulldozer, and classic Motown songwriting team Holland Dozier Holland, hooking it to an all-time unforgettable theme. JB, enlighten me with what you thought about this 3-hour tour de force down Love Tune Way.
He has notes on all 69.
You
songs.
fucking goddamn it, dude.
I sure did. I said I wasn't going to do it.
So you literally
And
liked
I did
because the deal last week was that
What
we
was the
were
deal?
only going to be writing notes on the songs that stood out to us. So
Well,
you
that's what I
literally
said. I
thought
figured
that-
I would write one line
one word.
of words, like about every song. And I starred the ones that I liked, and I didn't star the ones that I thought were just okay. Okay. But I took some sort of notes on every single of the 69 songs.
I did not.
That's okay. It's okay. And I'm interested to see what you guys think. You know, you guys talk first about this. What did you guys think of it? Because I feel like I'm gonna be. I feel like I'm gonna be on one end. I think you guys are gonna be on the other end, maybe.
Mine's pretty quick. I'll go.
Yeah, go for it.
So, it took me until about track 13 to just sort of accept it. Like this is what I'm doing. It was very Frank Sinatra-esque, so I'm glad they mentioned that on some tracks, specifically 25, disc 2, song 2. I noted "Time Enough for Rockin' When We're Old" is pretty funny. Like I like the lyrics.
Yeah. Honestly, the fact that I can remember that song out of 69, and I remember some of the words, should say something. Right. I feel like this guy wrote 69 songs, put it on an album. Mike's shaking his head right now. I don't know, Mike. So you didn't like this one, Mike?
I couldn't listen to the whole thing on headphones. It's easy enough for background music, and you barely kind of notice it's there. And it's more comical in some ways, starting with the title. Like this guy wrote 69 love songs.
Well, he wrote 69 because he originally planned to write 100, and he decided that was too many.
But he
stopped
69. At 69.
He didn't go for 70.
He was like,
or 68.
Well, come on, it's love. He was like, what's the funny number that I can do?
Wait, that's what I'm saying.
100.
That's why
it's almost like
right?
he chose.
I appreciate it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it's almost like he knew that 69 was a gimmick relative to love. Oh, so that's why fuck you and fuck this whole fucking. This is like the shittiest gimmick of all fucking time.
I don't know if you got it.
This is the shittiest.
I don't think you guys got it.
Fucking gimmick of all time.
And you know what? So I'll say right off the bat, I'm not like fully in the camp of this record. Well, no, come on, but there are some seriously good songs on this record. There really are. That's the truth. There are some.
Are there 69 of them?
No, there's not 69 of them. And
that's the 3
thing.
of them?
There's at least 50 of them. Okay, hold on. Let me revise that. There's at least 40 of them. Seriously.
Jesus.
There are a couple that are really, really good. Okay. I think the 69, the writing this many songs thing is a little gimmicky, but I also think that he kind of did it for a personal reason. I read that he kind of set out to write this because he wanted to break into this kind of new genre of music. And he was like, what better way to immerse myself in this than to sit down and write 100 songs? And
Wait a minute, what was the new genre of music? Was
I have
it
to
love
pull that
songs?
up. And no,
was
because
that the new genre?
I don't know if you read this quote, but he claims that this album, this is not an album of love songs. It's an album of songs about love songs, which he claims are really not actually about love at their core. Which is a little pretentious. Don't get me wrong. When I first read that, I was like, okay, this fucker. I was like, he's just trying to confuse you and say the most annoying, pretentious thing you can. But then when I started to listen to him, I was like, you know what? He really is. This is an album making fun of love songs. It's a parody of love songs at its core. He's saying that they're all bullshit and that they're written for the wrong reasons and that they don't mean anything. And that no one actually writes a love song because of love. And I think that he's maybe not wrong on that front. I think that's not true of all love songs, but I think certainly, you know, what percentage of songs out there are love songs? A large percentage. And a lot of them are just a bunch of bullshit that someone just threw together to make money or whatever. And really, this is an album making fun of love songs. These are not love songs. He's not talking from the heart here. He's invented characters. He goes back and forth between different genders throughout. He's not. This is not him. This is him. That he did an exercise in how many songs can I sit down and write about love songs.
Because I mean, listen, I get it. You dug it, right? It clicked with you.
Some of it did, and that's the thing is like, I want to emphasize like. I don't think that all of these are fantastic, and I think that a lot of these are filler, and I think a couple of these barely count as songs. Okay, some of them are weird little sound experiments that song is a loose description of, you know?
There's a couple of songs on this record that I really adored.
Which ones?
Time Enough for Rock and Roll World.
I'll tell you my favorite one.
Go ahead.
I've had the second song on the record stuck in my head all day. I Don't Believe in the Sun.
Record? Oh, I actually wrote that down. I enjoyed that song.
That's a fantastic song. I'm going to be playing that song like going forward in the future.
And you know what? I would love to hear you play that song. You want to know why?
You don't like his voice?
His fucking voice is terrible.
See, I like his voice.
Unless you like a singer that sings low.
It reminds me of The National a little bit.
Yeah, it reminded me of the National too. It also reminded me of
What is that?
Actually, April said the same thing.
Wait,
fucking crash test dummies, those dipshits.
No.
Don't. Just don't
Okay.
know it. It's okay not to know it.
But so yeah, I mean, I'm not like saying this album is incredible in every song, and this guy's a masterpiece of a, this guy's a gem of a writer, and it is the best thing ever. But I think that there's a lot of really, really good songs in here. I think this is an incredibly impressive feat, despite the fact that a lot of these songs are fairly simplistic. There's a lot of the same chords. I think that many of them sound different, and there's a variety of styles. And just from like a songwriter perspective, this is impressive. Like, I don't think the average songwriter could sit down and write this many songs and have them all be fairly decent, And I think that there's some unnecessary instrumentation as you go through, which I think is a product of trying to write 69 different songs. Like, at some point you're going to fall into like, how do I make this one sound different than the others? I'm going to add something that doesn't really need to be there. So I think what you could do is release less. Pick whatever your favorite 10 are off this. But I think that there's some really great tunes on this. And one thing I wrote down was that I think an indie band could pick 10 of these songs, release them on an album to like widespread critical acclaim. Seriously. What did Rex think? Is that what you're laughing at?
So my computer started dinging, and Rex started texting me at 10:55. He said, "Thank you. Fuck this fucking album. Check your text. JB is such a bullshitter." And then a bunch of emoji and vomiting faces.
I'm not a bullshitter, Rex. There's some good tunes on this. And again, I'm not saying the entire thing is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. Don't misrepresent me here. I'm not saying that this is the greatest album ever and that every song is good. I'm saying there are some really good ones on here, and that this guy's a talented songwriter.
I loved pretty much everything that was sung by a woman. Specifically Claudia. Man, what in the hell was her name? I'll have to dig up her name. I want to say Claudia Gibson was the name of the woman that was singing on a lot of the songs that I loved. Boa Constrictor, I loved her voice on that. My favorite song in this whole record was No One Will Ever Love You. And I loved the lyrics. There was a synth underneath there that sat really well. And her voice was just really, really spectacular. I mean, I really loved it. What did you think?
I feel like sorry, go ahead.
What did you think of the panning effect in Abigail? Did you make a note on
that? It
was
super disorienting. And I wrote like,
dude, it was dizzying.
I remember I wrote down like, oh, not bad, but I'm about to pass out or something.
I felt like I was going to vomit.
Yeah.
Like, there was a point where I legitimately thought I was
that
gonna
was
get
silly.
sick.
I feel like the reason that you guys don't like it, Rex included, is simply the fact that there's 69 songs. If this was like a 12-song record, you guys would not feel this way. I don't think. I think you guys would feel totally different about it.
I wouldn't feel that way about this record if he never sang, because I really don't like the tenor of his voice. Like he's a really, like, he tries to do these really super deep bass things that I'm just not into. And I don't listen. The word that gets stuck in my head with this record is it's a gimmick, and I fucking hate gimmicks, dude. I hate them.
I think it's in between, right? So I thought it was sort of gimmicky with the 69 and like, some of the things that, are like kind of funny and, that in between. I think there's some realism to it. So there's like, disparity between.
I don't think it's a big deal about the 69 thing. Like, I think he's just trying to be silly. It's just a silly little 69 funny. Like maybe that putting too much thought into the 69 thing,
Well, and I'm not. I mean, the 69 thing, it just works into the gimmick. It works into the gimmickiness of it for me.
Yeah.
And I mean, listen, a lot of this is in my own head, right? Because I look at a record like this, I listen to the first 10 or 12 songs, which puts me not even a fifth of the way through the album, and I think to myself, okay, so it felt like a joke that I wasn't in on. Does that make sense?
You think it's pretentious? Because I think it's pretentious. That's one thing I kind of picked up a lot on.
You listened to this and you thought to yourself, man, this is really clever. This guy's actually writing a bunch of songs about how love songs aren't really love songs.
That was a quote I read from him. And I think some of it is really clever. Let me be clear. I don't, like I said before, I don't think every song on this is fantastic. I think there are some fantastic songs on this.
And listen, when you got 69 songs, I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these songs are really good, but at the end of the day, we're talking about a record that is number 406 out of the greatest 500 records ever made.
Yeah. So let's talk about the list.
And that's where, to me, I'm looking at this. And if you have to start saying, yeah, but you don't get it because what he was really trying to do was, all right, that's like telling me a shitty joke and then explaining to me why the joke is funny. No.
And let me say, I don't think this should be on the list.
High five.
But that being said, I do think that was the point of the record, was that he's making fun of love songs. And that if you're interpreting it as he's writing 69 love songs, then you're missing it. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's what you did personally, but I'm just saying in general, he's writing an album about love songs. He's not writing love songs.
So it took me 13 songs to get it, like I said. After that, I really enjoyed it. I would move it down to 499, but I would keep it there.
I think there's definitely a lot more albums that I would consider for this list of the 500 greatest of all time before this, but I'm glad I listened to this. And there's a couple songs on this that I will listen to again and again.
If I gave it another 2 or 3 full listens, I have no doubt that I would find additional songs that I would love as well. I mean, I really have no doubt that I would find that, because there's already a handful of songs on this record that I loved on the second and first listen, but within the context of this list, no.
Yeah, no, it's a really weird pick for this list.
Yeah,
for them to put something like this on here with considering all the ones that were left off.
It feels like I just can't get past the gimmick.
So I did not add this to digital, but this is an album where I might add I might pick some of the songs, because normally me and Mike, we don't like to add individual songs. We like to just do the full album, but I'm not going to add all 69 songs to my digital library, but I'm going to add a few of them. This is one where I'll pick out a couple. You get more messages? What did he say now?
So I actually
read it off. What did he say?
Okay, so Rex says he murdered Book of Love by Peter Gabriel. It was almost a homicide. I almost called the cops.
Oh, that was the cover. I remember hearing that and thinking that was a cover. I didn't feel strongly about it in either direction.
Yeah. So and it was a Peter Gabriel cover of all covers.
Yeah.
And then he said, wow, quote, just when I think you couldn't be any dumber, you do something like this and totally redeem yourself.
What's that from?
It's a movie quote.
Yeah.
Just when I think you couldn't be any dumber, you totally redeem yourself. Dumb and Dumber,
Dumb
I
and
think,
Dumber,
actually.
yeah.
It's a Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Thank you, Rex. I appreciate you. And for the record, I also want to say this, especially because of your opinion relative to Everyone Knows. What the fuck's the name of that album? Everyone Knows This Is Nowhere. Rex fucking hated that album. He said, I'm starting to hate this bullshit list. How do we go from Motorhead to Neil Young? And then he says, fuck space. Okay, space. I'm going to listen to this album with an open mind. Space. It's tolerable. He was not a fucking fan.
Wow.
Yeah, not a fan at all.
He must be watching the live stream right now, huh?
He must be. He must be. Thank you, Rexy. We appreciate you, buddy. So yeah,
Thanks,
so
Rex.
for me, there's no fucking way that I'm not going to keep this on the list. There's way too much really good music that got left off for me to accept this.
Yeah, and no, to be clear, I'm on the same page as that. I think it's a weird choice for this list. But I do want to reiterate, I think there's some really good songs on here. I think that the guy, I forget his name, is a fantastic
Stephen
songwriter.
Merritt.
Yeah, I think he's a really good songwriter, and I stand by everything I said at the top load of this conversation. That I think that it's an album that he did as really more of an exercise than, like, I think if while he was writing this, if you were like, did you know this is going to be on the 500 greatest albums of all time, he'd have been like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
He would
be
have
like, I don't know what you're saying, buddy. I'm just trying to make a workout video to post on Instagram like The Rock.
Yeah. I think this was just a songwriting exercise for him. And I think there are some really, really good songs on here. And specifically, my very favorite one was I Don't Believe in the Sun. That second track. Really, really good song. If you're going to listen to one, in my opinion, do that one.
If you're only going to listen to one, listen to No One Will Ever Love You.
Which number was that? Because I didn't write the
Fucking
titles.
43. I have no clue, dude.
Okay.
Because I only made notes on the shit that stood out to me.
Okay.
I didn't.
Time enough for rockin' when we're old.
That one was fun.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo. All right. So, programming note, we're getting ready to take a break because we are going to do a bonus episode this week. We couldn't last week just because of fucking family shit. All right. So this week are we going to do both bonuses this week?
What do you think? You want to?
Well,
or you wanted to do one and then we can do two next week.
Okay. So, we're getting ready to, we're going to take a little break and then we're going to come back. We're going to bring on Justin's wife, April, and April is going to join us to discuss the Moody Blues record, Days of Future Past.
Yes.
We're definitely going to do that as a bonus this week. And next week, because we're going to be remote, JB and I, we're going to take a break from the big list because he and I aren't together. And of course, the next time that we talk about the big list, it's a big anniversary for us because we're finally going to get through 100. We're going to pop champagne.
Oh,
indeed.
I would like to
Pop champagne with us.
Buy your bottle of.
Oh, you're going to buy us the shit. Listen, you're the production. You're the production manager. So
I would like to provide your champagne.
fantastic. Please
Could-
make
could
it
you-
as shitty as you possibly can.
Could you instead buy the last one that we get instead of this one?
No, I was gonna offer to buy and then just hope I was invited back
For the last one.
I'm just fucking with you. That'd be an honor for you to
Fantastic.
provide us with that bottle of champagne.
Um,
Find the shittiest one you can. Buy a quick trip.
Well, we have
Yeah,
we
please,
have
quick
a
trip
soda
champagne.
stream, so you might get a
Oh.
variety.
fucking fantastic. Piss
Cool.
into a bottle, top it off with some water, and hit the soda stream. Yeah. So next week, what we're going to do is we're just going to take a longer extended look at the snub list from the Reddit snub list, right?
Yeah.
So we'll pick out a handful of albums to go through for next week on the Reddit snub list.
And we haven't decided on those yet, but it's going to be a good chance for us to maybe look at some of the bands that we've already done and save the bigger main snub episodes for ones that we haven't touched on yet.
Exactly.
Maybe revisit some of the other albums from bands that were snubbed that we've already done one album of, like My Morning
Exactly.
Jacket or
My Morning Jacket, The Flaming Lips,
yeah.
even Tool for that matter.
Yeah.
You know,
Harem.
yeah. In fact, during our little break here, as we're getting ready for the bonus episode for this week with April, we'll figure out what 5 albums we're going to do, and we'll preview that in the bonus episode.
Yes.
So, as always, and then after that, we're going to be back together. So we'll finish up the top 400, and then we got some more guests lined up for some weeks after that. It's
Gonna
good
be
stuff.
good stuff.
Yeah, we're
Yep.
going to keep on plowing through this. So thanks for sticking around. Thanks for listening to us. Like
I do want to give a shout out to Shane Parker because he listened to the whole 69 songs too.
fuck
So
beast mode.
yeah.
What did you think, Shane? Send
He
us an
didn't like
email.
it. He didn't.
Oh, he
No,
fucking
so
hated
here's
it.
what he
Thank
said. He
God.
didn't fucking hate it. He was very similar to me. He hated it because of the length, but he said that he liked a lot of the songs that were on it.
Well,
Which again, I think that's probably the source of a lot of the argument here. Is like it is ridiculously long, and maybe you could argue unnecessarily. But and I get that you didn't like his voice at all. But I feel like a
fucking
lot of
hated
people
his
are going to be
voice.
turned off to it by the length,
Are you
and I
not
was too.
like the National?
actually, I like Matt Berenger. Like I can do that tenor with the music from the National. It was just
Sorry, I don't mean to drag it out.
no, it's all good. It's all good.
No, yeah.
So, listen, thanks for joining us. We know that this was a long episode, but of course there was some big stuff in here. And as we continue to work down this list, when we get to albums that are special to us, that are important to us, this is going to happen, and especially when we have a guest where all three of us just kind of nerd
Guess who's
out
passionate
over
about
an
it.
album. Yeah,
And it's like
gonna
me and
happen.
Mike have discussed as we get to some of the higher ranking albums, there might be times where we decide to cut down the number of albums on an episode. We might decide,
right.
you know what, there's two heavy hitters this week. We're only going to do 3 albums this week, or we're
Yeah.
only going to do 2, you know?
Yep, that's right.
Or as we get to the top 10, we might decide to do 1 per week, you know, if they're
Exactly.
really that good,
If
that
they're
we need
really
to,
that good.
that we need to spend some time talking about every song on the fucking album.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure you're going to see Justin again. So thank you guys
Absolutely.
for,
You think? Oh, cool.
thank you for
As long
tuning
as you
in
had a
again.
good time. As
No,
long as you
I
wanna come
had
back.
fun. Yeah, no.
Fantastic.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, then everybody stick around for the bonus content. There will be bonus content this week. We promise.
Yeah.
So we'll be back in just a minute. And in the meantime, as always, thanks for tuning in.
Thanks,
Send us
guys.
messages, send us emails.
That's right.
We'll see you soon.
We'll see you next week. We'll see you in a little bit. And then next week.
Yeah, both.
Goodbye.
Party.
This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. It sucks.
Goodbye.
Later.
Oh my God, dude. My bladder was just like.